Hello and welcome to the Wedding Pro podcast, the podcast where we share tips and tricks for wedding vendors and couples, share insight into the wedding world, and share about our experiences. We are Gracie and Angela Felix of Felix Wedding Films. We are so glad you tuned into this week's episode. Now let's get into it. All right, well, let's go ahead and get into it. So we're in a new series. The series is called What Wedding Vendors Wish You Knew. And this week, I'm so excited to talk with you, Kelsey, to share about what wedding event rentals owners wish the world knew. Obviously, there's a lot of different event rentals. There's linens, glassware, tableware, flatware, design details. I mean, there's a lot of it. You obviously know a lot more than I do. So I'm excited to have you on, kind of uncover the behind the scenes of what you do and share with couples and vendors alike. So before we get into it, could you go ahead and share with our listeners a little bit about you, what your business name is, what your background is, how you got into event rentals, and just anything that you want to share?
Yeah, of course. So, like you said, I'm Kelsey Johns, and I'm the owner of Glass Wing Rentals. So, we just really provide high quality event rentals. We primarily do weddings, but we also do like birthday parties, bridal showers, rehearsal dinners are another one that we do a lot of. And we try to stick with just like the tabletop rentals, which is everything above the linens. But we also have like fun additives like mirror signages and picnic tables and things like that. But we have two locations right now. So we are located in Dalton and Ackworth, just so that we can serve both Chattanooga and Atlanta. So yeah, that's pretty much it as far as the background for the rentals. But how I got into it was I've just always wanted to be an entrepreneur. I used to make candles and flip furniture. So when I was in college, I was majoring in accounting and I got my real estate license. And both of those things I liked, but they really weren't my passion. So I was like, why don't I just try the wedding industry? So I was an assistant for a wedding and I liked it, but it was just a whole like it was the day before Saturday and then all day Saturday. We didn't get home until 2 a.m. And I just didn't love being away from like my boyfriend. He's not my husband. um, so I was like, what is another way that I could get into the wedding industry but not be there like full time? And my sister-in-law was getting married. We found out about rentals, and I was like, "Ah, I could do this. This is awesome. Like I could go, I can deliver, I can set up, and then be able to go home. I have a daughter now, so it's one of the reasons why I really love what I do is because I'm still very active in her life. So yeah, that's how I got started.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. Could you kind of give the listeners share about what kind of event rentals are out there? You shared a little bit about your specific rentals, but give everybody an idea of what is actually out there in the world of rentals, and then give some more examples of like exactly what you could provide.
There are so many rentals. I don't think people understand. There's linens, there's tents, there's umbrellas, there's signage, there's furniture, photo booths or another one. Really, I feel like rentals really make the wedding personalized, and it brings something to the venue that it doesn't already offer. But what we specifically target is tabletop rentals. So, like I said, anything above the linens. We don't do tablecloths just because that is another thing in itself. The time for that, I think people don't understand. But
Yeah.
so we do like dinnerware, chargers, flatware, glassware. We have candlesticks, candle pillars, bud vases. We just got table lamps, which I'm really excited about. We had so many people request that, so we're like, okay, we'll have to. But yeah, and then we also have, like I said, some mirror signages. So we do like welcome signs and seating charts and champagne walls. So we have a lot
Yeah.
of fun little things.
Awesome. Yeah, I love all of your awesome rentals. They're always so
Thank
beautiful.
you.
We see you a lot. We have, our weddings with you, and when I see you on the list, I'm like, "Oh my
Oh,
gosh." I probably won't
yay.
see her, but I'll see her items. So obviously, you know that there's a lot of different behind the scenes terms that couples might not be aware of. So couples and vendors. So I'd love to first speak more towards the couples and share a little bit about that, give a definition to these terms so that they just understand better when they're reaching out to their rentals company. So, one that's very, very popular, a well known word in the world of weddings, and that's tablescaping.
Mhm.
But for couples, they might not understand what that is. So, could you explain what that is?
Yeah, it's just a fun word I like to use just to describe pretty much everything that we offer. So tablescaping is just like the design of the table. So like our chargers, I really love what we do because it's so functional, but also a huge part of the design of the wedding. Like it just adds such a huge element to the design. So it's your linens, your dinnerware, your glassware, your flatware, all of that goes into tablescaping. You have elements like colored schemes, textures, depths, heights, all of that really makes it's just a fun word I like to use for like
Yeah.
art of the table.
Yep.
Yeah.
Photographers, videographers, planners, we love that word. Florists, we love that word. Um, so, and then also the term strike. What does
Yes.
that mean? Is it common for rental companies to handle this? Does someone else handle this?
So strike is kind of just a wedding term to mean the tear down of it. So it typically happens after the wedding, whereas something like busting the tables is another term that you might hear. And that is happening during the event. So that's typically not something that we handle just because that rental companies come at the end of the event. Once everything has been taken off the tables, they should be rinsed and placed back in our crates. That's what we'll be striking, we'll be picking up basically. And then caterers will handle, typically, caterers handle the busting of the tables during the event. Like they'll come around because no one wants to sit in front of food on their plate. So they'll come around and pick everything up and scrape it and rinse it. So that is two terms you'll probably hear if you're going through a rental company. Yeah.
Hmm. And do you feel like there are other not misconceptions, but other things that are confusing between your company, like rentals versus catering, that couples assume you do, but it's actually catering, or vice versa?
Yes, especially they just assume because it's on the table, they assume it's our job. So, like, for example, linens, they assume that we'll come and place the linens. Or, like, we've had people, we do have napkins, but we've had people rent from a linen company for napkins and then expect us to sit there and fold them and then place them. And that adds so much time like that I have to pay my employees that I didn't account for. So that's one thing, like just be very clear. And I have it in my contracts now.
Hmm.
You live and you learn with the wedding
Yeah,
industry.
for sure.
Yeah. So that's honestly like the main thing I feel like is luckily we don't deal with that as much anymore. Something that we dealt with in the beginning a lot was the couples think because there are rentals, they expect us to come and bust the tables if their caterer is not offering that. Um, like I said, live and learn. We have it in our contracts now. We're very clear about our policies now so that there's no miscommunication about that. We even talk to the caterers about it and make sure that they're clear that they're the ones that will be performing that. So, yeah, it's been very helpful because it's so terrible to come and we show up and nothing is, I mean, just the
There's
amount of
food
time,
still all over. Yeah.
the
You're like,
amount of
"What?"
time it takes for, like, we would be there until 2 a.m. if we were doing that because it's so hard. Like, it has to be done during the wedding because it takes that long to get to that point of pickup for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I could definitely see that.
Hmm.
A long time ago, I did work in the food service industry,
You
so I get it.
did.
I did, yeah, in college. I liked it a lot, but I mean, it takes a lot of time, and I didn't even I wasn't even working, large scale weddings, so I can
Uh,
only imagine.
yeah, no, it's a lot. A lot more than I think people realize. Just that whole process takes so long because if you think about it, like each wedding, if you have a 200-person wedding, then you have to multiply, like think about the flatware. Like if you have four, you have to multiply that by four. And like that's another thing people they don't understand like estimating how long it's going to take to put on the table. I always actually, a lot of the times, I will give like another or staff member for that setup, and I have never regretted it. Every single time, I'm like, we needed that extra person because it just takes so long for setup. So if my team's not doing it, that's another thing that I would be aware of. Just give yourself extra time for sure.
Yeah. Mhm.
Very time
Yeah, I can't
consuming.
imagine.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you have to make sure it's, like, perfectly placed, it's not, like,
Mhm.
lopsided.
Mhm.
That's a lot.
Yeah, for sure.
You've been giving little nuggets, little tips, but
Yes.
do you have any other tips, that come to mind for couples when working with rental companies? It could be specifically, like, tabletop rentals or rentals in general, anything that comes to mind.
My number one recommendation is please read your contract. I know they're long, but they're there for a reason. And they have, because all rental companies have different policies. Typically, they're standard, but make sure you're understanding their policies and there's no misconception. Like, I beg people, if they don't understand my contract, call me. Let me explain to you what we're performing, what's our job responsibility and what's someone else's job responsibility. That is one of the biggest tips. Another tip I have is order more than you think. Like if you have a guest count, add on like 5 or 10 extra because you never know like who's going to drop a fork or if plate's going to break. And if extra guests are coming, I always recommend something that my company does do is we always add at least 2 to 5 extra in there, but I wouldn't bet on that for other rental companies. So that is one I definitely recommend.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
And is the couple the one booking you typically? Does the planner get involved? Do you work a lot with planners? Do you feel like when you work with planners, you're more understood? I know these are a lot of questions.
Yeah, yeah. Um, Literally both. It literally just depends on the couple. I would say majority of it is the couple that's booking. Which I love my wedding planners, but I like when the couple books us just because I get to build a connection with the couple. But yeah, there's a lot of times like our very staple wedding planners, they're like I don't even get the couple's name sometimes,
Mhm.
which makes me sad. But the reason for that is because we have three different options. So if a wedding planner is booking me, a lot of the times they're the ones that's going to come and pick up the item. So our three options is what we call will call, which is another term that you might hear. We just call it client pickup just because everyone knows what that means. But it's the day before the wedding the client will come and pick up, and then the day after the wedding they'll drop it off, and this is free of no charge besides the rental fee. We don't charge extra for this. Another option we have is the delivery and pickup, so we'll come that morning, drop it off, someone else will set it up. Typically it's the wedding planner, but sometimes it could be the catering staff. That has happened before. And then that night we'll come and pick up. And then our third option is delivery designing. We call it our day of design because we're designing the table. We're making sure everything is straight. We're making sure everything is placed correctly. And then we'll come back and pick up at night as well. So those are our three main options that we do.
Okay. That
Yeah.
makes sense. And I think maybe important for couples to know that no matter who is setting things up, whether it's Kelsey's company, whether it's your planner, whoever, you're probably paying them for it.
Oh yes. Yes.
So if it's not the rentals company that's setting up, just keep that in mind.
Yes.
And if you're setting up yourself as the couple,
No.
I
So
wouldn't do that.
I was actually going to say, luckily, We don't have many couples that do that, but that is something we did for my sister's wedding like a few years ago. And wow, did I learn a lot through her process. I'm like, I'm not joking. Her wedding ended early, it ended at 8. We were there until 2 a.m. picking up. Like yeah. Yeah. So that is another tip. Don't do it yourself. Don't count on family to do it. You don't
Yeah,
want them to be working your wedding.
it's not
Just
fun.
no. And unless, well, they might not help, like that's another thing. You can't count on that without communicating. So
Yeah,
definitely.
even with communicating, I mean, I won't get into the details, but we have obviously a lot of family members. Some of the family members, they had everybody handle it,
Mhm.
so so family, we just got to enjoy the night. Other family members, we had to handle it. So after the wedding is over, we're staying
Mhm.
and cleaning it up. Definitely not fun. I'm exhausted after enjoying this day. Don't
Yeah,
put that on your family.
that's why when we did my sisters, we were like, "Oh, we'll definitely have like at least a few people." No. Literally
No,
nobody. So
everyone's tired.
no, and I mean, I don't blame them. That's what I recommend at my clients. I'm like, "Do not do it yourself. Please, like, don't get family." Of course, I'm recommending them to book us, but it's really just a peace of mind thing. Also, just like we make sure we know so many techniques and rules when it comes to especially setting the table. Like after we set everything on the table, we get it to the end of the table and we're making sure everything, like the glassware is straight, the chairs are straight, even though we don't place the linens, we're still moving the linens, making sure the linens are touching, grazing the floor. And I might talk about this a little bit later on, but like we are very particular about linen placement. So, like if there's a crease from folding the linens, we line those linens up. If there's like a row of round tables, just like things like that, that
Yeah.
no one, if you really want your wedding to look luxury, it's the little details that matter. Yeah, for sure. So don't have family.
Yeah. No. Oh my gosh. Um, what do you feel like are some other things that couples often forget when it comes to rentals on the wedding day? Obviously, we talked about like make sure someone is gonna be bussing tables, not the rentals company.
When it comes to rentals, I think this luckily has only happened a number of times. If you don't have a wedding planner and you're booking just from us, set on your calendar a reminder to update the guest count. Because what we do is we recommend clients do a low estimate for their guest count because we require a 50% deposit that you will not get back if you lower. So we always recommend lower, but we did have one wedding where they forgot to update the guest count with us, and then they were missing items. And that's not we had 140 weddings last year. There's no way that we can go, like, that's a wedding planner's role. So that I tell all my clients, put reminders on your calendar to update that with us. And then another thing is just communication. If your caterer needs like extras, because caterers have to eat, like other vendors have to eat, so communicate with us if you need extra plates for them. That is one thing. And then another thing couples kind of forget sometimes is they're not thinking through the whole night, and they might forget about, oh my gosh, what are we going to use for cake, like cake plates and cake forks. Like there's a lot. And if you have a wedding planner, she should be, or he should be walking you through that process and like making sure you don't forget those things. That's why I'm like, get a wedding planner. Like they help you with
Yeah.
so much. So yeah, those are the
Yeah, they
main
do.
things. Yeah, those are the main things that yeah, they forget.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. And how do you feel like rentals actually impact the guest experience? There's obviously so many things I can think of. What are your thoughts on that?
I feel like it's just all about the guest experience because it's such a functional thing for guests to use, but it's also decor. So I feel like it adds so much to the reception space because guests spend majority of the time in the reception. The ceremony is just as important, but guests will spend majority of their time in the reception. So even though we don't rent linens, I recommend pretty linens. Do something other than white, please. Like I beg all the time. Like even if it is a white, do like a pattern or like a off-white, like just something different than white because once they take the items off the table, those still will be on there. So definitely think it's just functional and decor. So it adds a lot to the wedding. Yeah. I think it's really important. Of course, I think it's really important, but
Yeah. Well, I definitely notice the difference when the tablescape and, like, the linen, there's, like, texture and there's just
oh, yes.
variety.
Yes.
It's like there's just so it's just is so aesthetically pleasing, and
Yes.
obviously, we live in a world where we value aesthetically pleasing. Of course, it needs to be functional, it is, but, like, you wanna enjoy what you're looking at for the whole evening, and it definitely elevates the guest
Yes.
experience,
Yes.
and it elevates, the photos and the videos.
Mhm.
We love it when there's a beautiful tablescape, beautiful patterned or textured linen,
Yes.
something that's, just a little different, that's unique to the couple. We love that too, so
Mhm. Oh, yeah. I think every vendor, when they walk in, they see that. They're like, "Yay!" Like, because the photos, that's something that vendors just love getting pretty photos back. So
yeah.
definitely.
Mhm. And what design tips do you have for couples who want to, like, customize their look and elevate the look a little bit?
I have
You gave the tip of not white linens, but what else?
I have lots. I have lots. Number one, I am going to start with linens, even though that is something that we don't even rent. I am a big linen person because just textures, patterns, it just adds so much to the table depth. One of my favorite weddings is a white wedding, but they added a pattern white and it creates so much. And as I said, please press your linens, like please, please, please. That's the if you want your wedding to look luxurious and you want it to be elevated, that is the one thing that makes the most impact, in my opinion, because as soon as you walk into a reception space, you're going to notice the linens not being pressed. And as I said, like if you do have that fold line, line up the fold line from tables. It just it's really just in the little details. Making sure, as I said, the linens graze the floor, like get the right size linens and talk to your linen company. That's one of my tips. Another one is the size of your table matters. So, like, really just the width. So, what I like to do when I haven't mentioned this before yet, but we also offer a service of design. So when I'm designing a table, especially for like the head family table, we like to sometimes put two tables side by side just to give us more width to the table. It gives us more room to play. We also like textures, of course. We like to throw in like a charger, a woven bat, like anything that we can do. We have velvet, we have cheesecloth, all that it just makes such a difference with like the height and the depth with candles. And then I like to pick like 2 to 3 colors and kind of, unless you're going for like a very colorful look, we typically like to just pick like 2 to 3 colors and make sure they kind of complement each other. And then another design tip I have, which kind of your rental company, whoever's setting up should do this, not you, because you're not right. You're not the one setting up. So, but as I said, make sure everything is just lined up. Your glassware is lined. So if a photographer or videographer is going to take a video, everything looks like in a straight line. The chairs, even though we don't do chair rentals, we have some furniture, but we still, when we do the day of design, we still go back there, make sure all the chairs are lined up. That stuff really, it's just the little details make the hugest difference.
Mhm. Yeah.
So,
Yeah. And a lot of these things, seasoned wedding planners are going to know that like those linens need to be steamed,
mhm.
everything needs to be lined up. Maybe newer planners, this will be really good for them to learn.
Yeah,
I don't know why couples would have this knowledge in their brain
yeah,
because they've never
yeah,
planned a wedding.
yeah.
But this is very helpful. And
Good.
So for rentals companies, is it common to also offer design, or is that something that's unique to you guys? And could you like share a little bit more about that?
So I think there is one other rental company out of Chattanooga that offers design. I don't think any kind of in the Ackworth, Atlanta. I don't know, maybe, but that is a part of, I love being creative. And that's why I didn't love accounting and real estate. Also, just because it was such a stressful process for people and marriage is so happy. So that's why I love that. So that was just something I saw and I was like, I would love to be, it lets me be more a part of your wedding. It lets me feel like I'm a part of your wedding day. So yeah, that's definitely why we decided to start offering that. And we have, I guess we've been doing it for almost 2 years. We have been doing design. We've been in the business for like 3.5, almost 4 years. So we were really excited to add that on. And all of the weddings have a place, special place in my heart. Like they're my favorite weddings, of course, because I designed them. But the design that we do is specifically for the table. Your wedding planner might help with other areas, but we still recommend like vendors will work with the florist. We'll contact your florist and work and collaborate with the design of the tables and making sure everything is cohesive. So yeah, we love doing designs.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, this will be something we talk offline about, but I know we
Okay.
have an upcoming wedding together,
Yes.
so I'm
Yeah.
I'm interested to see if you're doing design for that. But either way, I saw your name and I was like, "Oh my
Yeah, I know.
god."
I saw yours too. I was like, yay! Like I know the
You're
video.
like, "Okay, I'll be getting the content."
I'm excited.
And do you feel like there's anything else that you wish that couples knew before we kind of shift to vendors? Anything else you feel like couples should know about working with rentals companies that you haven't already said, or you could expand on something you've already said?
We love to be tagged. I just like literally love to. I feel like any vendor, when you post your wedding, tag us. Like we love to be
Yeah.
able to share. So that's one thing. Another thing, I've already said it. Read your contracts. Rental companies will have replacement fees or a deposit or like a little amount to that for loss, but make sure you understand what your replacement fees is. Ours is like up to 5 times your rental fee just because there's it just costs money when you lose and break things and it
You
might
have to buy it
happen.
again.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. And we have to pay shipment fees for that. So just I guess just read your contracts, communicate with your vendors, think about things such as your venue and where the reception space is. Think about like load in for us. Tell us if we have stairs because we'll have to take that into consideration for how long it takes us to set up. If you have like a short time frame for us to set up, let us know. Those are things that we always ask our clients that, but if they don't, let them know if there's stairs or anything like that. I guess those are just a few little tips I have.
Yeah, those are good. And with the tagging one,
Yes.
so most planners, when we're working with planners, not all, but most, will give us like the Instagram tags.
Mhm.
Some don't.
Mhm.
And then couples, if, a vendor is working with a couple who doesn't have a planner, that's a good thing for the couples to know that just,
Yes.
sharing all your Instagram, all the Instagram handles of your vendors with all your vendors is super helpful.
Mhm.
We love tagging people, but sometimes I'm like, who provided the linens?
I'm
Like, I know a few companies, but I don't know who this one was.
Yes, yes. I'm always like trying to look at the wedding planner's emails, trying to figure out
Yeah.
because I just love tagging other vendors. It's a part of I feel like it's a big part of the wedding industry is we all like
Yeah.
respect each other and try to tag each other. And I like working with vendors that get that. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's just
Yep.
one of the biggest things.
I do too.
Yeah.
Yeah, we could go
Yeah.
off on a tangent,
Yeah.
but I won't this time.
Yeah.
But anyways, we could kind of get into like the vendor side of things.
Okay.
I know offline we were talking about how there might be more things for couples than
Mhm.
vendors, but we have a few questions. So first, how early do you think planners and coordinators should loop you in when building a timeline?
So, of course, I'm going to say as early as you can. When it comes to wedding planners and couples, when they book, let us know if we haven't worked at a venue before, let us know if there's any restrictions because recently, like venues aren't opening until 1 o'clock, and that gives us a limited. And a lot of rental companies are doing multiple events on the same day. So it's a lot of logistics. We're thinking of our staff, we're thinking of time that's going to take to do that. And then we have to go to another venue, drop off. So if you could just let us know before you book. Another thing is because like that might change our price for our day of design and pickup because if you have, for example, if you have something later, we just added this to our contract actually. If you have something later than 10:30 p.m. pickup, there's an added fee to that just because it's so hard for us to find staff that is willing to do that. So, yeah, just be upfront if you can. Yeah, if you can, it's the best. Just communication in general is the best. But majority of the time, I do have a lot of wedding planners that just contact us the month before when they're making the timeline, and that works too. But I prefer if you're just upfront with us because it's a lot of planning. A lot of logistics are behind the rentals. A lot more
I
than
could,
I think people get. Yeah.
yeah, for sure. I just attended a final venue walkthrough like literally
Uh-huh.
yesterday.
Uh-huh.
And all the different rentals companies. It was at a very unique venue, but the venue sadly has very specific
Uh-huh.
timing that the companies are allowed to come in, and it
Uh-huh.
was like 3 or 4 o'clock, something like that.
Mhm.
That's late. So
Mhm.
all the rentals companies were like, "Well, that's already very late, so I need to be there as soon as they open the doors." So like
Literally.
that's like 7 different rentals companies all
Uh-huh.
trying to load in at the same time.
Mhm.
It'll work out, they'll figure it
Mhm.
out, but
Another
it's
thing is
just a
like,
lot, I can
oh
imagine.
yeah, it's so much. Another thing is if you're planning on having a flip model, which means like you'll have the ceremony space and then the reception space in the same area while the guests are at the cocktail hour, let us know that as well, because that changes our price and we have to think about making sure that we have all that staff because it takes usually you have an hour to flip. So that means that you have to have more staff. And like I said, we try to have one more than we even think we need, and we've never regretted that. And it might be harder if you're waiting till the month up to tell us, it will be harder for us to find. Luckily, we haven't had, like, we've always come up with a solution for that. But yeah, if you can let us know way beforehand, it just makes things so much easier for us.
Mhm. Yeah.
Definitely.
And do you feel like there are other mistakes that you often see with wedding day timelines that are related to rentals?
Um, I feel like the main one would just be not properly estimating how much time it takes. Not not for us, but like if you didn't hire us, then that might be something I've heard so many times wedding planners are like, "Oh my gosh, this took so much longer. Like we allotted this much time and it took us so much longer to set up." Because if you think about it, this is actually a tip. Can I give tips on how to set up a
Yes.
table
Yeah,
for
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 sure.
wedding planners?
Please.
So what we've learned is the more you're walking around, the more time you're taking up. So when you're setting flatware, what we do is we have like a fork in this hand and a knife in this hand. We're placing both those at the same time. That way we're not walking around the same venue 4 different times for like a dessert fork, a dinner fork, a knife, and a spoon. So that's a tip that I just have if you are setting up. Flatware, in my opinion, takes the most time out of any item that we do. So, yeah, I guess just underestimating time to set up.
Yeah. Yeah. I could see that.
Yeah.
I'm always I am very into like optimizing your
Hmm.
time and like
Hmm. Yeah.
I don't know why I'm like this, but I always have been. So I love that. I probably would have intuitively done that,
Huh.
but I
Yeah.
feel like not everybody is thinking like how do
Mhm.
I optimize my time?
Yeah, think about it. Like, try not to pick up the same item more than once. Like, try if you're unloading the items, try to place them by the tables that you will be unloading them. Don't just put it all in one spot. Because if you do, you're literally going to be walking back at so much. You can't do that. It would take too much time. So, yeah, just try to think smartly when you're setting up. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, that makes total sense.
Yeah.
What do you feel like is something that vendors can do to make your job easier as the rental company and then also improve the couple's experience, if you can think of anything?
I've kind of already talked about this a little bit, but if you loop us in from the beginning, that really, and we know a lot of logistical things about our items. So, like, if even if we're not doing design, I like to have just design the Pinterest boards. I actually asked for this on my inquiry form because I can look at your Pinterest board and be like, oh, I know exactly, and I'll give you recommendations. So, that's one thing. And I guess another thing would just be have extra time for setup more than you think. Um, that would probably be another thing.
Mhm. And do you typically like work closely with the florist and the planner, or if there's a planner, does the planner typically like handle all of that and you're not necessarily communicating with the florist?
So typically, we don't communicate with the florist unless we're doing that design, unless it's a design client. The wedding planner or the bride will typically give us these are the items we want, and then we'll I mean, a lot of rental companies won't even give you your recommendations for what would fit. I like to, just because I like the design part of it. A lot of people just say I need these items, and then they send you an invoice for that. So I guess it really just depends on the rental company, but majority of the time we don't work with the florist, which is I love working with florists. I love like being a part of the design. And another thing why you should talk to us early is because we know things about like this would have to do more with like if you gave me design, but we think about things like the size of your table and the sizes of your chargers and making sure there's enough room for your because they're like 12 inches. And then you also have your flatware. There's been times where we've not done design, we've shown up and your flatware is literally going under your charger because there's not space. Like I always also recommend for like a 60-inch round table. I don't want more than 8 people I know the venues like to say you can do 10 people. It just doesn't make the guest experience great. So I like to, those are things that I would recommend for someone who's doing design with me. But
Yeah,
definitely,
I like that. That's good.
yeah. Thanks.
Do you feel like there's anything else that you wish vendors knew about your process or how you work? Or do you like, I don't know, do you feel like vendors just don't get you sometimes? I don't know. What are your thoughts about that?
I feel like maybe in the beginning I felt like that just because I guess we were working with vendors that weren't as experienced, so they didn't understand. They thought just because it was our items, that meant that we were the ones to cut. Like we have been through it. We have learned like there's absolutely no way we can come and bust tables at the end of the night. So luckily we have that very clear in our contract, so we don't have to deal with that anymore. But that was definitely something like a very big learning process for us as we were starting is, oh, this is not our role. Like we should not be handling this. There's just no way. So that would be a misconception, I'd say, that was happening a lot earlier. Luckily, we don't have too many now. And of course, like I said, each wedding we learn so much. We're always updating our contracts and our policies. So luckily we haven't dealt with any that are like reoccurring lately, which I'm very thankful for
That's
sure.
good.
Yeah.
Good.
Hmm.
Yeah, I feel like overall, you probably aren't interacting with too many vendors on the day. So,
Yeah.
hopefully you're having a good experience.
Yeah, I love to interact with vendors though. That's Okay, I didn't want to be there like the whole day, but actually my favorite part of the wedding is getting to come back and getting to talk. I literally go talk to all the vendors, like talk to the videographers. I also love like being able to see the couple celebrating with their fans and friends and family. So yeah, I luckily we haven't dealt with too many setting up. We usually collaborate with florists really well. Because a lot of the times we are setting up at the same time they're setting up, but luckily, I haven't dealt with too many. We just all are very friendly. Yeah.
That's
And
good.
if one's working at a table, we'll just go to the other table and things like that. So
Hmm.
fingers crossed, nothing else.
Yeah. Yeah. This might be an off-air question to ask you about if you've
Okay.
ever had an unhinged experience working with a florist. But you don't have to answer it unless you want
Okay.
to.
No, I don't. Not
She's
anything.
like, no, not recorded, please.
Not I mean, some people might not be the friendliest, but that's okay. Like as long as we're getting the vision that the couple wants, I don't care. So
Yeah.
I guess
Yeah,
that
that's
would be
good.
the biggest
Good
thing. Yeah.
answer.
Yeah.
Yep. Awesome. Well,
Yeah.
thank you for sharing all of that.
Yeah.
Do you feel like there's anything else you want to share about anything in general before we wrap this up?
I guess the big takeaway I want to summarize. So the big takeaway I would have is just talk to your rental company, loop them in early, look at their policies. That is honestly, if y'all get anything, that is the biggest thing that I would recommend because each rental company has different policies. So just make sure you're understanding that, understanding how their deposits work, how their setup works, and then just loop them in on changes. Make sure you're setting dates for calendars to remind them about guest counts. Yeah. And just talk to us. Like, I love being involved with the couple. Hopefully, your rental company is too. Just talk to them, loop them in on changes, and let them give you recommendations if they're willing.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And then, where can our listeners find you on social media, website, email, all that good stuff?
So our website is glasswingrentals.com and then our Instagram is glasswingrentals. So pretty much anything you type in glasswing rentals, you'll find us. And glasswing, it's glass and then wing, and they're the same word. So it's actually I can talk a little bit about how we picked that name if you don't care.
Yeah, go ahead.
So when we were starting, I was trying to brainstorm like what should we be called? My mom has always been the like biggest supporter. When I told her about this, we were at an antique store and she like I barely got the idea out to her and she started picking up glassware and like she's like, "Yeah, we're doing this." And I'm like, "Okay, sweet." Like so I wanted to honor her in a way. So whenever me and my sister had nightmares, she'd always say, think of butterflies. And glasswing is the name of a butterfly that has glass-like wings. So I was like, oh, yeah, this is a sweet way to honor her. So I literally wouldn't be able to do this business without her. She supports me so much. So yeah, that's how we got her name. Because people are like, why don't pick that name? Like it's a kind of a weird name, but that's where it's
I love
from.
it.
Yeah, thanks.
Very sweet. And your
Thank you.
family is so sweet.
Thank you. Yeah, love them to death. They're amazing. So,
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for
yeah,
joining us.
thank you.
Loved hearing all your tips. I'm sure our listeners will as well. And I'll talk to you later.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for listening to the Wedding Pro podcast. If you found this episode helpful, we would love it for you to share with a fellow vendor or someone who's getting married soon. Your support means the world to us and helps us reach more people in this amazing industry. We'll see you next time.